So what should you invest in next during this strong bull market that we're having? Well, this topic was in second place in July's survey, where you, the viewer, vote on what topic you want me to discuss next. So in this video, I want to share with you my personal thought process and all the considerations I go through when I'm trying to decide what to invest in next. Since I invest regularly every single month, I go through this process very often, and I think you should too, because investing regularly is always the best way to go, in my opinion, instead of hoarding cash and trying to time the market. But hey, that's just my opinion. But I think it makes the most sense for regular, ordinary people because it's the simplest and easiest way to go. So I came up with 4 things that I personally consider every single month when I'm trying to decide what to invest in next. So in this video, we'll go through them one by one. So I'm a value investor at heart, guys. This means that I always try to find a good deal on what I buy next. So even though I'm an income-focused investor and don't intend to buy low and sell high later on, it's still worth finding deals because the better the deal or the lower the stock price, the higher the dividend yield is, right? So let's get started with the 4 points. Number 1, the most important thing, or the first thing I do, I look at the stock market in terms of sector. So this is the very first thing I do when I'm trying to figure out what to invest in next for any given month. What do I mean by this? Well, the stock market, guys, is made up of 11 sectors. So you have healthcare, energy, financials, utilities, communication or telecom, etc. And what you notice quite quickly when you start investing on your own and are watching the stock market overall is that sectors tend to follow each other. So energy companies, for example, all tend to go up and down together based on the price of oil and natural gas. Financials like banks and life insurance companies tend to follow each other as well. Of course, there could be some exceptions where some individual companies might have some breaking news that day and they either go up or they go down. But I don't invest in single companies anymore, single stocks anymore. So it makes sense for me to look at the stock market in terms of sectors. So you can easily see, guys, which sector is down in any given month and which ones are up or doing better. So it's not really that hard to figure out, especially since for me, I already own a portfolio of diversified funds, many of which are sector-based. So you could simply look at your personal watch list or the holdings that you already have to see which sectors are dipping that month. The goal is really to find the sectors that are underperforming or struggling within that month. So as when I was writing the script, for example, it was Monday, July 19th, which was a pretty bad day overall for the stock market. But really, 2 sectors were doing especially bad: energy and financials. That's because the market went down because of fresh COVID-19 concerns, and energy and financials got hit particularly hard, just like they were hit hard at the beginning of the COVID-19 crash, right? Energy, because it follows oil prices, and financials, which follows the banks and life insurance companies. So one sector, I'll give you another example here in terms of a sector that's doing good lately, and I would probably avoid for the time being, is real estate. So it's not surprising, right? The real estate market is crazy right now. We've been seeing that in the news lately, bidding wars, home ownership getting harder and harder for millennials, real estate prices going up, etc. So it seems like the real estate market is a little bit inflated or overvalued. So you could easily see, guys, which sectors are lagging or doing great in any given month by doing a quick analysis of the stock market, either via the main headlines or by simply looking at your portfolio and see which funds are performing, are underperforming, or are doing really well. The second thing, point number 2, I always look at the NAV price versus the market price of a particular fund. So once I analyze the stock market in general in terms of sector, usually something sticks out and that gives me some direction, but sometimes not so much, right? Especially if we're in a strong bull market where every sector is doing great, like we've been having in the last 6 to 9 months or so, 6 to 12 months. So this is where I'll dig a little bit deeper and look at the funds that I currently own or I want to own, and see if there's any big spreads between the NAV price and the current stock price, especially with funds that use leverage like split share funds and closed-end funds, which I refer to as income funds simply. So if you weren't aware of this, every fund, whether it's an ETF, a split share fund, an income fund, even a REIT, has a market price, which is the price you see when you look it up on the internet, right? If you look up the ticker symbol or the stock symbol, basically it's the trading price. What's the price you're gonna have to pay if you want to buy some shares today? But they also have a NAV price, a net asset value price. So the NAV price is essentially what one share or one unit of this fund is actually worth. Whereas the market price or the trading price is what one share is currently trading for on the stock market. So the price that you're gonna have to pay if you want to buy a share. So for ETFs that don't use any leverage, guys, there is the NAV price and the stock price are usually very, very close, if not identical. But the ones that use leverage usually have a little or sometimes a big gap between the two prices. So if the NAV price is higher than the current market price, for example, the fund is actually trading for as a discount right now. It's on sale simply because one share is worth more than the current market price. And if the opposite is true, then the fund is trading at a premium, right? Because you got to pay a little premium to actually get the shares. So let's check out some examples real quick so you see what I'm talking about here. So real quick, guys, let me show you a few examples, stock price versus NAV price. I'm on ZWC, one of my favorite covered call ETFs. This is an ETF that does not use leverage. And on the homepage, you will land on the overview tab here. And if you scroll down, you will see the closing market price or stock price, 1811, sorry. And then right here, you have the NAV price, the net asset value price, 18.1144. So they're pretty much identical. And as you could see, they're two separate prices. Another example, FLI from CI Global Asset Management. You have the NAV price here, 991, and you have the market price at 993. Then there's Canoe EIT. Here's an example of a fund that's actually trading at a discount right now because the NAV price is 1213 and the current stock price is less than that. It's 1196, which means that this fund is trading at a discount because the NAV is higher than the actual stock price. Then you have some split share funds. So I'm on Brompton's website, which I really love, by the way, because you can actually see all of them together. You have here the current closing market price. So this is the stock price. And in this column, you have the NAV price. So as you can see, there's a difference between the two, right? So SBC, for example, market price 1437. The NAV is higher at 1515. So although this is a little bit outdated here, but just to show you the example, this fund would be considered trading at a discount because the NAV is higher than the stock price. But GDV, on the other hand, which is up a little bit more up to date here, the NAV is 1144, but the stock price is higher at 1204. So this fund is trading at a premium and not a discount. Another example real quick is ENS from Middlefields, the split share fund that only holds Enbridge. So the NAV here is 1308. And by the way, you just have to click on this tab here, NAV tab, 1308, but the stock price is 14 something. So this fund is also trading at a premium. So there's a few examples, guys, pretty simple and quick and easy to find. So there's a few examples, guys, very easy to find like I showed you, but I just want to make sure that I'm not saying that you should never invest in a fund that's trading at a premium. All I'm saying is that it's just one of the 4 considerations that should be part of your decision-making process when you're trying to decide what to buy next. Point number 3, stable and defensive sector fund. So one option that you always have in a bull market, guys, is to invest in funds that typically stay stable no matter what the market does. So the main sectors that come to my mind are utilities and telecom, as well as healthcare. So these sectors are considered defensive sectors, or sometimes they're called non-cyclical sectors because they don't have cycles and are not volatile like financials and the energy sector sectors, for example. They tend to remain relatively stable. So for investors like me who invest regularly, if nothing sticks out that's lagging in a current month, everything seems to be doing great, or everything's trading at a premium, an easy way to deploy your money for that month is to go with these sectors, utilities or healthcare, defensive sectors. So for utilities and telecom, guys, you guys already know my two favorite ETFs out there that cover these two sectors. It's ZWU from BMO and HUTL from Harvest. So ZWU focuses on North American utilities and telecom companies, whereas HUTL from Harvest focuses on utilities and telecom in the whole globe. So you own both these ETFs, you're sure to own the best utility and telecom, and even pipeline. There's some pipelines in there. Anything that has to do with utilities is in there. So you would own the best ones in the world with just those two ETFs. I mention this every single time I unveil my portfolio every month, right? So if you invest in the US stock market, because ZWU, HUTL are Canadian listed, they're on the Canadian stock market. If you're American or outside of North America and you invest in the US stock market, funds like DPG or DNP stand out because they also focus on utilities and telecom. What about healthcare? Well, nobody could beat HHL from Harvest, in my opinion, if you're an income investor, because it has high income. It's their flagship fund, and the yield is consistently over 8%, and it holds 20 of the biggest healthcare companies in the world, many of which we know by heart now thanks to COVID-19, like Johnson & Johnson, Pfizer, AstraZeneca. They also have Bristol Myers, AbbVie, Eli Lilly, Abbott, HCA Healthcare. I think I know a lot of them by heart. One day I'll know all 20 by heart. So investing in these defensive sectors of the stock market is always a good thing, no matter what the market is currently doing, volatility or not, bull market or not. They might not be the fun or exciting sectors, but that's the point, guys. These sectors are what brings stability to any portfolio. Last point, guys, number 4. You gotta analyze and perfect your portfolio for you. So the perfect portfolio means different things for different people or different investors. The truth is, as there is no such thing as the ultimate perfect portfolio. Many people make the mistake of thinking that there's some sort of special combination of stocks and bonds that will be perfectly balanced and withstand all the risks, but give you the best returns over time. This is a bunch of nonsense, and no financial advisor or guru will ever tell you otherwise. Why? Because they're probably trying to sell you something, whether it's their services, their products, an expensive seminar, a training course, coaching session, whatever it is, etc., etc. It kind of reminds me of the quest for the Holy Grail. Well, guess what? Nobody found the Holy Grail yet because it doesn't exist, except for Indiana Jones, of course, in The Last Crusade. But hey, he even lost the Holy Grail after 5 minutes anyway. So a perfect portfolio does not exist, guys. It's completely subjective. It depends on your investing objectives and your goals, as well as your risk tolerance and your investing style and personality. In addition, risk means different things for different people as well. So really the last point I want to share with you and make is that in a bull market or no bull market, you should always have a clear objective in mind when it comes to your personal portfolio, and balancing it and diversifying it according to your personal needs should always be the number one priority as you invest regularly. So a couple of questions you could ask yourself. Do you have a decent amount of diversification in terms of sector in your portfolio? Or are you completely lopsided and have a lot more of one sector than another? For income investors like myself, we typically are very heavy on the financials, for example. Another question, as Canadians, is your portfolio too heavy on companies in Canada, and are you missing out on the companies from the US, the best economy in the world, or other first world economies like Europe or Japan? Another question, do you have too many higher risk funds that use leverage like split share funds, and not enough regular covered call or regular ETFs that don't use leverage, which tend to balance that risk out? Does your portfolio have an adequate percentage in defensive sectors, like I talked about in my previous point, etc., etc.? So you should be constantly analyzing and reevaluating your portfolio to know what modifications you need to do going forward and try to achieve your personal perfect balance. That is the number one priority. Like I always tell everyone during my one-on-one consultations, your top priority should be to build a strong foundation first before you go and dabble in the higher risk stuff and the more speculative stuff. I'm not against speculating. I don't do much of it myself, but in my opinion, you should always have a strong foundation first. So these are the 4 things I consider every single month, guys, when I'm trying to decide what to invest in next, even in a bull market. Now, I know what you're thinking. I'm busy. I don't have time to try to figure out what sector is underperforming, what funds are trading at a discount, etc., etc. I understand, and that's okay because I have you covered. In case you're newer to the channel, make sure you subscribe because I have a monthly series where I present to you my top 3 high income stock picks of the month. Episode 17, I can't believe I'm already on episode 17, will be out in a week or so. This is particularly useful if you're an income-focused investor like myself. So in that video that I release every month, I use the 4 points I just talked about to let you guys know which stocks and funds I feel, personally, in my opinion, are good buys for the upcoming month. And it includes my analysis and reasoning for each one of my picks. Not only that, guys, but I review how my stock picks are doing 1 year later in another monthly series that I have called My Stock Picks 1 Year Later. So in those videos, I actually go back and review my stock picks of the month from a year ago and see if they were actually good picks. So I revisit not only the stock price and compare it to today's market price, but also the status of the dividend or distribution, which is way more important for us income investors, right? So I decided to make the second series because I feel that many YouTube stock or investing gurus, they give a bunch of opinions on what you should invest in or what you should buy, but there's no real follow-up, right? So I'm different because I talk the talk and walk the walk. So make sure you're subscribed not to miss out on these monthly videos. As always, guys, please support me on this channel by hitting that like button, that thumbs up button. It's free for you and it helps the channel grow, so it's a win-win. Also, make sure to visit our website, passiveincomeinvesting.ca, where you could access my digital product, the Ultimate Dividend Passive Income Investing Package, which is basically all my years of research put into one. A couple of spreadsheets there. It's all the stocks you will ever need to build your own portfolio, and it comes with lifetime updates. So you only need to purchase it once in case a new version comes out. And I'm on version 2 right now, but I'm almost finished version 3, which is going to be great. This product also includes some sample portfolios for Canadians and Americans. It has Canadian funds and also US listed funds as well, guys. Also on my website, you could book a one-on-one consultation with me personally if ever you want me to review your portfolio, help you modify one, build a new portfolio, answer all your questions face to face, whatever your needs are. I do my best to help everyone I can. I just released my appointments for August and September, but they were completely sold out within like 48 hours. It completely baffled me. So I really appreciate the confidence that you guys have in me. Unfortunately, it's full, and you're gonna have to wait until October for the new slots to open up. So I apologize for the delay. If you're interested, I get emails all the time if you could squeeze me in, and I'm sorry, I gotta make time for other things as well. So I try to put as many appointments as I can, but don't worry, some appointments will be they will continue, and the October schedule will be out in mid-September. Of course, make sure you're subscribed, guys, so you don't miss out on my future content on passive income investing. It's all designed to help you on your investing journey. And make sure you follow us on social media. We're on Instagram, we're on Facebook. We have a Facebook group that's almost about to reach 2,000 members. So we have a nice little community there, and people are asking questions, they're sharing their stories, what stocks they have, and new stuff that's coming up in the market. It's a great community, so make sure you join us on social media if you use those platforms. The mission of this channel, guys, remains the same. It's to help everyday working people to invest on their own, to build their own stream of passive income so you can enhance your quality of life and one day also become financially independent. So with that, take care, guys. Stay safe, of course, and see you next time.